Hello everyone, this is Cal Jordi, founder of Fearless Transformation. Today I'm going to be talking to you about a tool that really made a big difference to me, and that is around anchored listening. That's right, anchored listening. So we're going to talk about what is anchored means and all that. But before, let's understand why. So what I'm doing all these seminars all over the country, and I work with organizations, and I found out that mostly the conflict is occurring because people, they don't really listen to each other. They don't listen to the message that's underneath, or maybe they hear but they don't really listen, and they don't understand what the emotions are going there. And also I work with people one-on-one. I found out that there are a lot of conflict in relationships because the most common complaint that their partners, they don't listen. So listening is the cornerstone of communication, and whether you are working at a company, whether you're in your relationship, whether with your children, whether you're going to communicate better with your boss, anywhere, it's the most important tool that you can take on, and that is listening. And you can use it in your sales to build rapport with people. So listening is invaluable, and it's very important, and that's the reason why I'm going to be talking to you about this today. I'm so excited to share that technique with you that I combined from multiple technologies that I've been invested in, whether it's seminars that I've taken, whether it's books that I've read, or whether it's audiobooks that I've listened to. And I combine all these trainings together for the past 3.5 years to come up with this 5-step process for anchored listening that I found very, very tremendous. So I don't know if you don't know a little about my background. Obviously, I'm a guy, so listening doesn't come naturally for me. And I'm an engineer, so for 5.5 years, at least in college, I've been programmed to be very analytical and not be out there with people and be inside my head, if you know what I mean. So for me, listening didn't come naturally, meaning if I can do it, you can do it as well. And again, it just reminds me back of the reason why am I doing this, because I really want you to succeed, whether it's your career, or whether it's a salesperson, or whether as a parent, or as a wife, or a husband, or as a boyfriend and girlfriend, or just going out there and meeting people. Listening is important. If you don't have that skill, then you're really be challenged with building rapport with people. You're going to be challenged with keeping and maintaining rapport with people, and also you're going to be challenged in relationships, and long-lasting relationships that suffer lack of. So I'm hoping that today will be a valuable tool for you, and let's just go dive very straight to it. So, anchor listening. I created this process, and I'm going to start with you going one by one, starting with what is the M for? M stands for matching. Matching and mirroring the other person. Matching and mirroring their tone of voice, then matching and mirroring their body language. And this is a technology that I learned throughout the years, specifically started with the Dr. Milton Erickson, and along with other technology and neurolinguistic programming. They talk about building rapport. And with building rapport, Dr. Milton Erickson was known for being the best hypnotherapist our age has ever known of. And they model studied what made him so successful was he had the ability to be in that person, matching the other person's body language, matching the other person's tone of voice, and even matching some keywords that the other person said. We're going to talk about that keywords later. But starting with matching and mirroring the body language. Body language is 55% communication. And 38% is our tone of voice, and only 7% is our words that we say, which means not what you say, it's how you say it. So right now, I tell you, well, great to have you here, versus great having you here, right? It's the same thing that I said, except that I put body and language in the first one versus the second one, and that makes the context really good. So, with that being said, matching and mirroring, when you're matching someone's body language, you're going to be able to match their breathing as well. If you can match their breathing while you build deeper level. Because people in the end will like people that are like them. People like people who are like them. So on an unconscious level, when you are matching the other person and meeting the other person, you are creating that deep level of unconscious rapport that people tend to naturally do when they are in rapport. If you notice, you go to next time you go to a social setting or to a restaurant, and you walk in and you see people who are really up to rapport, you notice that they tend to match each other's body language. So now we are consciously doing it so we can create that level of rapport. That's why we say, we see eye to eye, meaning, when you're standing up, you got to stand up with someone so you can hear them at the same level. If someone is across your arm, you're going to cross your arm. Really? Well, I thought this is not going to show up as an open communication. Remember, people like people who are like them. So when you are crossing your arms with another person and the thing that the other person is doing, you're matching them, well, guess what? On an unconscious level, that person is going to feel a level of rapport with, and you can do that for some time, and then you can break up with them, and you can change your posture, and guess what will happen with that person? You know it. They are going to follow you. They're going to change their posture. So go ahead and try that. That's my challenge. Go ahead and try that the next time you're out there, and go ahead and match and mirror someone. And that's going for like 5-6 minutes if you want, and then you break rapport. Notice how that person will break rapport and they'll match you. Because naturally we want to match other people. The same thing with, and then go to the animal kingdom, right? So the fish, when the fish are swimming in the sea, they are swimming in one cluster. The same thing with birds, with birds swimming in one group, and one bird moves, the other bird moves, all in one cluster. We are connected some way, somehow, in frequency to each other. The same thing we as a human being. So when we're matching someone, we are being, unconsciously one with that person, which is, I don't want to go into spirituality part of it, but, we are, in the end, we are connected one way or another. And matching and mirroring is now you are putting the most impactful tool of communication, which is your body language, being that person. The 55%, you're being that person, and guess what? The tone of voice, you are being that tone of voice. Meaning, if someone is speaking loud, you speak loud. If someone is speaking slow, you speak slow. You want to be able to use the same tone of voice as someone else. And the tone of voice is 38% of communication. So you got 93 total percent of communication that you are being that person, which will create a deep level, profound rapport with that person. And just for the record, this study with Dr. Albert Mehrabian is done when there are emotions involved. Meaning, if you go to a parking lot and it says no parking, there is no room for confusion right there. It's 100% of communication being sent right there. There are no parking. There's no room for miscommunication. But there's no emotion. There are no emotions right there. However, when we're communicating with people and there are emotions, that's when this study takes place. That's where Dr. Mehrabian really intended this study and be specific around the study. And you can go to his website and you can read more about this study. Just to recap, where the study goes, 55% of communication is body language, 38% of communication is tone of voice, and only 7% of communication are the words we say. And that occurs under the context when there are emotions involved. Cool? All right, let's go to the next level. K, what does K stand for? K stands for keywords or key phrases. So what are keywords? Keywords are words that there are emotional attachment behind it. For example, if I say, there's so much traffic out there, now I'm going to be 30 minutes late. Guess what are my keywords? That's right, you guessed it. Traffic and late. How did you know? Well, I'm assuming that you know because my voice tonality changed, and my body language. I had some certain gestures and certain nod that came along with it. That's how can you tell there are emotions right there. Now my question to you is, why is it important to scan for these emotions? Why is it important? Well, again, you guessed it. We connect on an emotional level. We don't connect so much on an illogical level, do we? We connect on an emotional level. So with the emotional levels, that's what creates rapport. So we want to scan for these emotions so we can connect with other people, and that's why that's so important. So, keywords are words that are the emotions behind it. How can you tell? By body language and tone of voice mainly. Or sometimes you hear repetition of a certain word over and over. Today I had a participant in my seminar. She was saying the word comprehensive twice or three times. And when I'm asking her, so why you're here, why you this seminar, what do you want to learn? She said, I want to be more comprehensive when I'm communicating with others. And I asked her, what does that mean specifically to you? She said, well, I want my message to be comprehensive when it lands with other people. So now it's twice she said it, and when she said it, she said comprehensive. She did this nod with it. So boom, that's a keyword. I scanned it. At the end of the seminar, around before lunch actually, I used that word again with her. So do you see yourself being more comprehensive when you're talking to people now after using this pattern? She said yes, and she just glowed. Her face just lit up. Why? Because I used her keyword, which is an auditory anchor that she has. Anchors, what does that mean? Anchors mean that there's a stimulus and then there's a response, emotional response. A stimulus would be the anchor. For example, a song that that reminds you back of your glory days, yes? That when you were at a prom or when you listen to your favorite song, it elicits certain emotions. Could be warm and fuzzy, could be happy, or sometimes could be sad. If you're going through a breakup and you listen to a certain song, it reminds you of that breakup and gets that heavy feeling in your chest or your heart. Yeah, so this is an auditory anchor. Visual anchor could be a picture of a loved one. You look at the picture of a loved one, gets that emotions of love available. Whereas, for example, for me, if I'm driving the car and suddenly I see flashing lights, that's not a positive anchor for me, a visual anchor. It's more like a negative anchor because by the way, I have a collection of speeding tickets, but that's a different story. So those are keywords. You want to scan for these keywords or key phrases. And how many would you need in a conversation, any given conversation? 2 or 3 at the most. And now that would give you a shortcut for you not to have to listen to all the mumbo jumbo that people are talking. Go straight to the roots, all the way down to the emotions that are involved. These keywords, the emotions, if you can scan for these keywords, when you scan for these emotions, you now are capable of building rapport so much more effectively, and you will notice that also that will help you in conflict resolution, which we're going to be talking about in a little bit. So this as far as the keywords goes. All right. So now you scan for the keywords. Awesome, great. And in the beginning, you can write them down. You can ask permission. Do you mind if I take some notes as we're talking, if you're at work or whatnot? So that's this way I won't miss anything out. And you can start jotting down if you're a coach, or if you're a therapist, or if you're a counselor, if you are a parent, even if you are at work with interviewing a coworker or sitting down with a coworker or interviewing an employee. You can take notes and take notes of these keywords, because these keywords are going to help you understand what's really their core values are, what's underneath their communication, and all that good stuff. So the third step, which is recreate. When I say recreate, what does that mean? Recreate meaning recreate the conversation. Recreate the conversation. Recreate these keywords or key phrases in the same order, the same chronological order that the speaker set up, the same order. Why? Because when we are communicating, usually we are communicating a thought that it's in the form of a movie in our head. And when we're going through this movie, we're playing this movie, we are scanning for these events, scanning for these keywords, the emotions, and when you repeat these emotions in the same chronological order, it's like you are recreating or replaying the movie back for them. Nobody wants to watch a movie from end to beginning. That would be very confusing, wouldn't it? So you want to repeat them back in the same order, the events in the same order. Okay? That's what's going to help you a lot. So in my example, I got it. You were, there was just so much traffic out there, and now you're late. So now, what can we do about it? Or whatever you can say afterwards. But I said the traffic, and then I said late, just the way the other person said it. And you want to say them in the same way that they said them. If they said them with a gesture, you want to say the gesture. If they said them slow, there's so much traffic, you want to say it slow. Remember, matching and mirroring at all times, All right, good. E stands for empathy. The good old word of empathy. What is empathy? Empathy is really being in the other person's shoes, seeing the world from their own eyes, seeing what you're seeing, hearing what you're hearing, and sometimes assuming whatever feelings. And when you are in that person's shoes, sometimes you could feel some feelings that they're feeling. And why would that be important? Why wouldn't it be important? how important that is for you to understand what are they feeling, so that what? In conflict resolution, when you state how has it been for them to be that in their situation, what would that do for them? Two things. First, it creates a huge level of rapport. You are telling them that you understand them. Now they are being heard, they are being acknowledged, they are being understood. Second, if there is tension, the tension will be just diffused, just like that. Let me show you with you a short story. I was in San Francisco just last year, and I had a training to do in Hawaii. And my girlfriend at the time, it has her birthday, and we decided that, I go and the only way it worked out that she'll go on a flight, I'll follow her half an hour later. Now, what happened is that, she boarded and my flight got delayed for 5.5 hours from San Francisco to Honolulu. How long does it take? You guessed it, around 6 hours, which means by the time that she gets there, I'm going to be in the plane. There'll be no communication between me and her. She's going to be wondering where I'm at. The reservation, the car rental is done under my name. The hotel is under my name. So it's going to be very chaotic for me to be able to make all these changes and having to communicate these changes to her. So I was not in a good state, to say the least. I go to the front, to the airline customer service, and they was telling me, there's a mechanical problem. Safety first. There's nothing we can do about it. On an intellectual level, my left side of the brain, I was getting it. It made sense. However, for whatever reason that is, I started becoming furious. On my right side of the brain, I started becoming upset. Why? I had it that person didn't care. They were just parroting back what they've been told. So I asked for a manager. Manager comes out, and and the manager goes, "Wow, it's your first time at the time, going to Hawaii. Your girlfriend's going to be waiting for 6 hours, waiting for you. You have to make all these phone calls, make the changes, have to communicate that some way, somehow, and that must be very frustrating for you." And I was like, yes. I took a deep breath in, and for whatever reason, he wasn't able to do anything for me that day, but I felt okay waiting for the next 6 hours in the airport. Empathy is the #1 tool they teach in customer service, and the #1 tool for conflict resolution. Just putting yourself out there, imagining yourself in that person's body, seeing the world from their own eyes, that is called empathy. And this comes through the words you say that must have been frustrating for you, that can be difficult, that can be very challenging, or that must be very exciting. Could be positive or the negative, as long as you state it so they can hear it. Now you are creating that deep level, even deeper level of rapport. Cool or cool? Excellent. So the last one is A. A stands for ask. Ask and you shall receive. Ask. So with asking, why would we ask? Because when we're usually listening, most of the challenges of listening are usually 5 main challenges, but I'm going to just talk about 3 main challenges are. We tend to fix people's problem. We are fixers. When we're listening to someone, talking about a specific thing, we're searching for a problem. Once we find that problem, we're going to bring the toolbox out and try to fix it for them. How many of you do that? Yeah. The second challenge with fixing is interrupting the other person because we have a thought. We're afraid to forget what we're about to say next. So we go ahead and we interrupt so that we won't forget what we're about to say. So that is another challenge because we are afraid of forgetting what we're about to say. The third challenge with listening is relating with others. So how many of you find ourselves when we're talking to somebody is sharing with us their problem, we say, well, you think you have it hard? Let me tell you, I have it. And now we start talking about ourselves. We steal the spotlight from them and put it on us. Yeah? So we tend to do this stuff unconsciously. We all have positive intentions behind it. We're just trying to relate to others. We're trying to fix their problem. And all that stuff which happens, we're conditioned to do that. And imagine how would that land on the other person if you try to fix their problem. Many times people don't even ask for you to fix their problem. We don't ask them to fix their problem. And they are left disempowered that we are trying to fix their problem. So this is something that you might be aware of. Another one is relating with others. So, ask permission. If you want to fix, if you want to relate, okay, and before you interrupt, ask, do you mind if I offer you a suggestion? Or Can I stop you right here, because what you're saying right now is not completely 100% true, and here's why. Is that okay if I just stop you right now, if you want to interrupt? Or if you want to relate, you can say, can I share with you, my story, so you can, maybe it will relate to you? Ask for permission. This is the one type of questions that you want to ask. It's a closed-ended question. You ask if it's okay to interject. The second type of question will be open-ended questions. If you want to help someone come up with their own solutions, which will be much more powerful, if you're a parent, if you're a manager, if you're a leader, it's best way to lead people empowered around their own decisions by coming up with their own decisions, by coming up with their own thoughts, by their own solutions. They have a sense of ownership towards it. It's much more powerful when they come up with their own solutions rather than you give them the solution. If you give them the solution, one second they're going to dismiss it. But if they come up with it, it's going to stick. So you can ask them questions like, what can you do about it? What have you done about it? How can we avoid this from happening again in the future? What do you suppose we can do about it? These questions are open-ended questions, and it will help the other person come up with their own solutions, and you'll put them in a better state. Okay? Because you can change someone's state by asking the right questions. If you ask them, if you ask yourself, why my life suck? Well, your brain is going to come up with all kind of answers to justify that. And if you ask yourself, what am I grateful for in my life now? Again, your brain is going to come up with all the list of the things that you're grateful about. And it's going to put you in a positive state in the second scenario versus the negative state for the first scenario. So it's your choice, and you choose wisely what kind of questions that you want to ask. The third type of question would be clarifying questions. Clarifying questions would be, for example, what do you mean specifically when you said comprehensive? In my example earlier with my participant. What do you mean specifically when you said that? This is kind of a clarifying question, so you can get more data. All right, so let's go ahead and recap. Step number 1 in listening is matching and mirroring body language. Step number 2, scanning for keywords or key phrases, which are the anchors, the auditory anchors. Step number 3, recreate the experience by chronologically restating back these key phrases or keywords. Step number 4, empathize. And that's right, you want to say it. Not just empathize in your heart, say it. That must have been frustrating for you, challenging, whatever that is. And step number 5, ask and you shall receive. Ask, there are 3 types of questions. Ask, open-ended questions, closed-ended questions, or clarifying questions depending on what your intentions are and what you want to get out of the conversation, where you want to go to lead it. So I know some people who are great at having answers and solutions for everything that the other person asks them, whether it's you're a manager or your supervisor or your leader or your parent. They have the solution for everything, and they're really smart and they're educated, and as a result they don't listen. They just fix people's problem, and they just interject, they interrupt, or sometimes they relate to other people by taking the conversation for themselves, and as a result they break rapport with people, and people, they don't want to be around them, they avoid them, and they think that they know it all, and they have hard time selling people, they have hard time influencing their children, or even inviting asking someone to be on a date with them for the second time, because they are trying to fix, they are trying to do all these things, they're trying to be smart. On the other hand, I know some people who may not know all the answers, however, they have great listening skills. They create the listening space for people to step into, and they come up with their own solutions as a result. So do you want to be these people or these people? Choose wisely. This is Cal Girardi, founder of Fearless Transformation. Thank you for listening. I hope that served you, and I'll speak to you in the next module. Cheers.